Yeah, absolutely. So now I think we got you there. Let's see if I can make sure we're getting this, share this out to everywhere we need to. Okay, good. Let's share to a group. And then there we go. We'll edit that later. Okay, so I think we got you going now.
Cool.
Now, hopefully we'll actually stay connected on take
Nice.
5.
Thanks for your patience, everybody. We're still learning as we go here. Right?
Yeah, thank you, everybody. So we're sorry it's so many times we're coming through this, but it's a little bit of a challenge every time we're trying these things out for the first time.
Of course.
Master Jeff and Master Santiago and Master Watson, they're the experts at this already. So this is only my first time trying this. So
that's good.
But, so we had talked. We think, in the other versions, a quick synopsis. I guess from before was you started training because your dad was training, and then you ended up in Mudokwan when you were little because there was a World Hong Sudo schools near you, and then. When did you end up back with your dad and get into World Hong Sudo? So
when I moved to, how old was I? I think I was like 10, I think, when I moved to Pennsylvania. I think that was like 88, something like that. That's when I got into World Hong Sudo. So, but nice. Every time I would go to visit him, I would go watch his tests. I would go to the tournaments. I'd watch all that stuff. And then that's how I really wanted to continue going. And I enjoyed seeing the big events like of World Hong Sudo. I enjoyed seeing that. And, yeah. So yeah, I think I was 10. It was 1988. I think is when I moved over there. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And 1988. That was a nice timing. And then you were out, and that was Region 8, right? Yeah. Yes, sir. Region 8. Now that area would be Region 22. 22, yeah. We were like right on the border. Well, he's still Region 8. My dad's school is still Region 8, but for a while we were Region 22, and now he was Region 8, and I think he's staying Region 8. So, yeah. But at the time there was no Region 22, so it was just Region 8 at the time. Yeah. And that's awesome. If you guys, thank you guys, everybody who keeps jumping back in and keeping sticking with us for this. Again, if you have any questions you want Master Arteca to answer, that's the idea. Please feel free to send them in here, and we'll be happy to. He'll be happy to answer them. You can ask him anything. That's the idea. Ask him what his favorite movie is, and what his favorite technique is. But so you and I met. I guess it was your second year, my first year at the Masters Clinic, right? Yes, sir. That's right. Yeah, I remember. I definitely remember it. And I've said this to you before, but I remember you because of your kiosk. That's what I remember. Love this dude's kiosk. Like, you got me all fired up. I'll never forget that. But not that, of course, you're a nice guy. Of course, I remember that. But your kiosk. Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah, I remember being there, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, oh, great. I got one of these little super flexible hot shot, doesn't break a sweat, still works hard. You're always one of the hardest working guys in the room. But it's like, oh my God, I gotta keep up with this guy. Oh man, why couldn't I have it? What were you talking about? I'm like, I could have had somebody else, but you're right in front of me. So I'm like, okay, now I gotta really push myself, and then But it was fun. We had a great group. Like those couple years that we had a really great group. I really enjoyed our candidate group. Everything about it, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I think you're absolutely, and I think I know the last couple of years the candidate groups have gotten really large, but I think back then it was a relatively small group. We had like 20, 25 people. Yeah, it was nice. And at the time, I didn't, there was a bunch of Region 9ers like you, and there were at least two, right? Master Madeline, Master Couture, and John Costa, Master Costa. Yeah, Master Costa, right. Yeah, so that's how I was fortunate to get to know you guys during that time. So it was awesome. And then, but in retrospect, it turns out there was actually two more because Al was there, Master Thierfelder. Right. But at the time they were Region 8, and you. So we actually had two more Region 9 to be in that group. Yep. Wait. Was Mike Molinaro there? Master Mike too? He was the year ahead. Okay. Okay. Oh, so he wasn't in with you. He was. I think I was in with him at least
He
1 year. I thought.
he was 2 years ahead of me, so he would have been a second year, your first year.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I think
Gotcha.
that's how it worked. Yeah. So we were all along that. There was that whole chunk for a couple of years that we had a bunch that all came through.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But at the time, he wasn't Region 9 either.
Right.
But
Right.
he was for Region 8.
Yeah, that's where I knew him from Region 8. Yeah, definitely knew him from Region 8.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, we got Rodney, we got Lynn, Joe, we got a couple people in here. So is there so what would if you had to say, who are your inspirations, your idols, people you look up to in Tong Sudo, outside of Tong Sudo? Who are some people that inspire you?
Uh,
No, you don't have to say me. We know it's already true, but
Oh yes, yes, you of course, sir. Right. I mean, like, there's so many. I mean, there is. I mean, like, from our grandmasters, of course, have always inspired me from their longevity and their wisdom. We have in our region, we have Master Valentin's been around a long time. All of you guys with all the history. Of course, my dad continues to train. Honestly, I said to my students that I would be doing this with you guys, and honestly, I look up to them too. They teach me just as much as I teach them. So I'm inspired by them and their journeys as well. Outside the association, I'm inspired by people like I've mentioned him before, like by Chip Townsend. His just the way his work ethic and his way at looking at training and life and so on. And Dave Kovar. A lot of those guys, a lot of the guys that we've interacted with in our region, Jody Tension, like all of these guys that are outside, that have done stuff outside the association too. But I could go on and on. We have our grandmasters, in our region, Master Valentin, all of our masters here, all of my students here, my dad for getting me into this, my mom for getting me into this, and so on. So, I mean, I'm inspired by a lot. I'm easily inspired. Let's put it that way. But I pretty much look to learn from everybody, from a tiny tiger all the way up to a grandmaster. I try to learn from everybody. I'm get inspired by everybody.
Good. So again, guys, anybody that's watching, if you guys have some questions, feel free to throw them in there. We got Rodney, we got Master Burgos up over there. So,
hey guys,
if you had to, is there, what's your favorite thing to teach then? When you're an excellent technician in anything I've ever seen you do. But what's your favorite thing to teach?
I would say forms. I really enjoy just the workout that you get, the technique that you get, just when you put all the things together. Man, like when you see a really good form, it just kind of mesmerizes you, So I love to teach forms. I also like to teach kicking too, I think it'll be my second favorite. But forms definitely is my favorite. I enjoy every aspect of it.
Okay, so we did a good question. Carlos Valentin shot one in here. He's asking, what's your favorite martial arts movie?
Best of the Best. I know it's cliche, but I enjoy that one, man. I enjoy that one. I mean, I would watch that one. Thanks. Was that Carlos?
That was Carlos.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yeah. I whenever I was still able to compete, before getting invited to the Masters Clinic, I would watch that to get fired up. I would watch that. Other movies that are not martial arts, but I would watch Rocky. I would watch the Rocky, hence the Rocky shirt, right? But yeah, Best of the Best it seems cliche, but it always got me fired up.
Honestly, it does get overlooked a lot of times because everybody wants to say that they love the kung fu movies or they're into the old crazy movie. But that movie, if you want to talk about true traditional martial arts, Daehan and Tommy.
Yeah,
they're actually brothers.
Brothers.
They did most of the fight choreography, and they're Taekwondo black belts. I think at the time they're 6th and 7th dans.
Yeah.
In Taekwondo, they're what's his name? Shoot, I can't remember his name now.
Ree. Their last name is
Ree. Yeah, they're Junri's kids.
I didn't make that connection. Oh, well, it shows.
Yeah.
It certainly shows.
When you watch that and you watch the technique, it's essentially it's almost the same as Tong Sudo.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It was always very inspiring. I mean, I do like the Bruce Lee movies, like Game of Death is one of them. Enter the Dragon. I enjoy those too. You know, I grew up on those. My dad got me hooked on those. But my favorite one, I would have to say, still is Best of the Best.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't disagree. Whenever, as I say, I wrote up a big chunk of my fourth on paper on it was in there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so, guys, again, anything else you guys want to ask, please feel free. What the and I had a whole list of questions. Now I should write them down. Now I'm blanking on, but um, so you know what so what would you say were some of the challenges changing regions? Because you did move from region 8 and you came into region 9. What would you say was coming in as you were already established? We're already fourth degree black belt, master. Were there any challenges coming into another region as a master like that?
I to be honest with you, not this region anyway. I've only changed region once, so I could only speak this. But you guys made it incredibly easy. Not only you guys, not only like the masters that were already here, but just all the students from all the school. It just made it. It just felt like I was a part of it the second I stepped in. Especially you, though. I mean, you and I were good friends before that, and I was telling you about the transition and how we were. Lisa and I, my wife Lisa and I, were planning on moving, and you knew about it in advance, of course, and some others found out about it sooner than later. But you guys, I mean, honestly, no challenges. I mean, the only thing for me was like I just was just got in there and came in here and just was trying to be just quiet first. Yeah, I just wanted to I didn't want to be here, come in and be like, hey, I'm here, put me to work, make me do stuff. I just wanted to kind of slowly, gradually move in and, be a part wherever it makes sense and help where I could help and that kind of stuff. But like I said, I didn't see any challenges. It was like immediate. You guys were so awesome and welcoming. And so I thank you for that.
Good. Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, I remember you, it wasn't when you were moving in. I think you were coming for regional championships, and your car died, right?
Yeah, my engine like caught fire. It didn't just die. Like my engine like caught fire. Like I was halfway. I was halfway to Hartford and in New York. Just all the lights on my dashboard start going off. So I like pull off and I go into the gas station. I pull off and it just goes like my hood just goes poof, and then fire comes out from the thing. And then it for some reason I don't know it just I guess the hood just didn't pop up too far, so it was compressed enough where the flames kind of extinguished themselves. Thank goodness, but yeah, so I couldn't come up. I couldn't make it. I ended up having to spend the night in upstate New York in this random town somewhere. And I never ended up making it, so I was bummed about that. But hey, it is what it is. It all happens for a reason, I guess, huh?
Nice. So one of the questions we're getting here is Lynn Prifty just threw a comment. It's funny. I'm seeing like some of them show coming here, and then I'm not seeing them in the other. I'm seeing them on Facebook. I'm not seeing them here, so I'm trying to keep a track of both areas where I'm seeing some of these questions. But Lynn asked, where does your unbelievable stamina come from?
Oh God. Hey, let me just say, I'm like everybody else. Okay. Thank you, Miss Lynn, for that question. I appreciate it. I'm like everybody else. I have to work at it. Okay. It wasn't always there. I have had to work at it and I continue to have to work at it. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't always there. It wasn't always there. If I didn't do it for a while, we go through a workout and I'd be breathing so heavy, you'd think I'd be pulling the pads off of the walls because I'm so tired. So I'm like everybody else. I just got to work at it. It could be done. Everybody could do it. You could do it. Anybody can do it. It's just got to work at it.
Nice. Okay. So another question we got here. Have you trained in any other styles? Any other styles have you trained in?
Not formally, like not for any rank, but I have dabbled in a good number of other styles. But the ones that I spent the most time in, and there's a friend of mine from State College, Pennsylvania, Ryan Grun. I trained with him for a little bit. He taught me everything I know about Muay Thai, striking, stuff like that. He has a really successful school in State College and has had some UFC fighters even train there at times. So I trained with that. I also did a little bit of jujitsu with him as well, but I didn't. When I was trying to get into that a little more, that's when I moved, and then I never picked it up again. So mainly, my whole heart really is been in Tang Soo Do, and with if the second style that I've trained in for any sort of extended period of time was Muay Thai, but most of my heart is Tang Soo Do.
I was gonna say I'm similar. I've Grandmaster actually he actually had gotten a black belt in Hapkido. He actually never formally got the black belt. Actually, he was I think it was when he was going for his doctorate in the fields he had his doctorate in, and he was actually doing it. He was going back and forth. I think between Florida, he was taking like courses in Florida back and forth, and he got it with. And while he was there, he was training with the guy in Hapkido down there. I think the guy ended up. And again, this is I'm trying to remember the story correctly, but he. Do you remember at the World Championships the drummers that used to come in, but the taiko
yes.
drummers?
Yeah.
The guy who ran that group, I believe, was Grandmaster Bodwin's the guy who taught Grandmaster Bodwin Hapkido when he was
awesome.
Going for his doctorate.
Yeah.
And the story Grandmaster always would kind of say with it, he goes, yeah, he wanted me to test for my black belt, but he said, oh yeah, you want to test for your black belt? Oh, $500, you can have your black belt. Grandmaster's like, that's all right, I'm good.
Wow.
Because if I know all the material, I don't need the belt for that.
Yeah.
So got a little bit from we learned a little bit from him with that, and we've all done the dabbling, but that never have that. It always seems that never have enough time to formally get into something to train formally. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That's same.
So Carlos Valentin's asking, do you miss competition?
Yes, without a doubt. Yes, sir. For many reasons. Because it pushes us to really strive to get to be our best, work on every little detail, and we still do that. I definitely still do that. But when there's an event that you're going to, and you're going to be up against other people, and you're getting scored and stuff like that, it really drives you. I know the forms that I competed with, those ones, are super sharper than the others. Like I said before, I enjoy forms the most, and I could always tell when I teach or do or practice forms that I competed with, because it just kind of comes out. So absolutely, I do miss competition, not only because it pushes me personally, but also because I would love to kind of to compete and show my students. Also, here's me putting myself out there too. Just like I asked them to put themselves out there and just go out there and do their best. I would love to, that kind of a thing, to go out there and, hey, I'm competing alongside you and going through the same sort of struggles that you do, so that it puts me in that mindset too, the competitor's mindset of how I could help them better. So not only competition, not only is it just an immense amount of fun, and I'm so jealous of all you guys that are allowed to compete. Like Carlos, I love watching you compete, and everybody that's out there that's still able to compete, I love watching you guys. It's just a lot of fun, but also, again, it pushes you to get better, and again, it also puts me in a better position mentally, because it puts me on the competitor side so that I can better help our students.
Absolutely. I was never the competitor of people. Lauren was absolutely the competitor. I know she misses it as well. And for the same kind of thing, how do you sometimes how you compare yourself, how you push yourself when you don't have that wall to compare you against, that challenge to push yourself against, I can understand that challenge that that you guys have. I just was never a person to get out there and compete. I was okay. So we got Joe Calabrese. He goes, do you have some suggestions for aging practitioners as to how they should train with their physical limitations?
Oh, okay. I think that's a really good. So who is it?
Joe Calabrese. He's one of our first degree black belts. He's our Qigong instructor.
Gotcha. Hi, Joe. Thanks for that. Yeah, thanks for that question, sir. Yeah, honestly, is first thing my first suggestion is mentally, don't let your age limit you. Okay, so don't like, for example, don't say to yourself, well, I'm however old I am, I can't do any better, right? You absolutely can, as long as your body is allowing you to do it. Okay. So first thing is, don't let your mind limit you. Don't let your age is a number. It's a number, and that's it. Okay. But if you do have, like you said, you have physical limitations. If you do have physical limitations, you have injuries, you have things, things that just don't work as well. My suggestion to you is max out what you are able to do. And but don't hurt yourself, obviously, but max out what you personally are able to do, and try to maintain that level that your body is allowing you to do for whatever limitations that you have. Okay, because what I tend to see people do is say, well, I'm getting old, so I'm just going to kind of slow down. I can't do that. I can't kick hard. I can't do that. But if you can, you just maybe it might just might not feel as good as it did when you were a little bit younger. Still do it, because if you stop moving, you're going to start slowly losing it. But if you keep moving, you're going to maintain it. You're going to stay young at heart, and all of that. So definitely don't let your mind limit you based on what your age is, and max out your personal abilities based on your any sort of physical limitations listed in your body, but still max out your stuff and stay moving. Those are my suggestions.
Absolutely, that's great. And you are an amazing technician, and you're also in great physical shape. And I know there's a lot of people that compare themselves to you when they're training and everything else, and and they're like, I can't be like Master Arteca. I can't kick over my head. I can't hold my leg up. I can't do a perfect side kick, face height. It's like, you guys, I say to some of those people, I'm sure you say something similar. It's like, it doesn't matter if you can do it perfect up there. Just show me a perfect one anywhere. As long as you can kick somewhere and you can do it perfect, that's the challenge. The height is, you might not be able to kick as high because, you might have hip injury, whatever. You might not have started training until you're 6 years old, and you just don't have, aren't able to get that hip flexibility just because of time and everything else. But make that perfect technique, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said at the beginning, the comparison, you can't, we all, I still fall into that at times. I compare myself to others at times too, but like we always say, like one of our attitude requirements is frequently inspect your own achievements. And my highlight for you in that is your own achievements. Don't worry. It doesn't say frequently inspect your own achievements compared against this person or this person or this person. It says frequently inspect your own achievements. So it's very easy to compare yourself to others, but we shouldn't do that, right? We should, like you said, max out what you are able to do and what be your best. And that's all that matters.
So, actually, it's funny you're saying that. It was a number of years ago. I think it was the first year they were teaching Unsu. Do you remember that at the Master's Clinic?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir.
I think I had like you in front of me, and I had like Muhammad was next to me or something, and we're doing that at the very end where it's the jump, press and kick, spin around, turning back, kick the opposite direction, landing it. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching the two of you go, and I'm like, seriously, I gotta be next to these two guys? Come on, what the, And then but you guys then inspired me to try harder and manage to get somewhere near it. But it's that was for me one of the times of comparing myself against people. It was just like, okay, this is not the time to compare myself. Like I got Mo over here, I got Jared over here. This is just no, this is not right.
Yeah, well, I think what you said is key. You can look at that other person and be inspired by them, but definitely don't look at them and be like, I can't do that, and then feel down about it, right? Like, yeah, just be inspired by it. Definitely. I look at Master Mo too. There's things he does. I'm like, wow, but if I look at him and be like, I can't do that, then I'm just going to feel bad. But if I look at that and be like, I'm going to try to get better at that, then that's the best way to look at it. But if anytime we kind of compare ourselves to each other and start to pull ourselves down, that's not so good. But if we look to compare to each other and then boost ourselves and get inspired by it, that is good. That's what it's really meant for.
Okay, so we got a question. How since you do have a large number of a growing number of teenage black belts, what are you doing to motivate them to keep going?
Oh, yeah. I'm very thankful for them. I really, like I've said to them before, I'm very thankful for those guys. A lot of them had been with us from when they were younger. from 6, 7, 8 years old, and they're still here. And that's just amazing. And honestly, what's helping, having them be teenage black belts and being, in their prime, being able to do stuff, they're motivating me to step up my game and learn new things to bring to them. So, I also realize that there's things that I'm not going to be the one-stop shop. So putting them in front of other instructors in our region, or having them go to clinics that are put on by other people in our region, encouraging them to go do that, encouraging them to compete, and also encouraging them to teach and develop their leadership skills, and I'm always trying to always trying to challenge them. If they are at a certain level and I know they can get to here, I'm pushing them to get up to here. Sometimes they don't always like that. They don't always like that. Just like sometimes we don't like being pushed out of our comfort zone, but when they do it, man, they really look amazing. So, to be honest, teenage black belts, and I was a teenage black belt at the time. So I know that feeling of, I want to be challenged. I want cool stuff. I also want to be good at something, that kind of a thing. And I just remember what it was like whenever I was a teenage black belt, and I tried to give them those same things. Like, I want to be challenged, so I'm giving them challenges. If I feel like they're not challenged, I tell them all the time, if you feel like you're not challenged, you're not getting enough, tell me. Trust me, I'll challenge you. Okay, I'll challenge you. I'll give you stuff. And if you're feeling like, hey, you know what, I could use a little something. I'm interested in this, and they want to explore that. We explore it. If I'm the guy to do that, I do it. If I'm not the guy to do that, I try to hook them up with somebody that can do that. And then again, I need their help here. I need their help teaching. Obviously, I can do things to a certain extent, but I can do it better with their help. And especially some of these guys and gals that are getting close to college and, putting on their resume, first degree black belt, second degree black belt, part of a leadership team, instructing students of these types of ages and stuff like that. It's a great resume builder for them. So, showing them that as well, that they have, it really, if there's two applications, one's a black belt with all this leadership skills and other doesn't have that, you have an edge. And, so I don't know if that, I kind of went a little bit around the block there, but
that was great.
Yeah.
Great. It's funny. I always say when I'm teaching some of my classes, I have all of the teenagers and the teenagers and the young black belts, and the couple who are one or two who are like in their early 20s, and then teenagers, and even a couple of the ones that are real early teens. And I'm looking at them, and they're doing something, and I just say to them, you can't say this exactly, but you can say some of it, just because the differences. I say to them, I'm older than you, I'm bigger than you, and I got a whole lot more mileage on my body than you. And if I can get my stance this low, then you better get low.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably say something similar. It's like, hey, if I'm doing this, you got to do it too. If I can do it, you guys have no excuse for not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what I do. What I would say to them if they need that kick, that little kick to boost up. But some of the time I'm looking at them like, geez, that's a good stance. I got to get my butt down there. You know what I mean? So at the same time, they motivate me too. Yeah.
The other side is definitely in there too. Them pushing you.
Yeah. And that's, I'm not only grateful for them because I've known them for a long time. I was like, there's one that was, I did a talent show with her at her school. I mean, if she's watching, she knows who she is. And she was like this little, like she was down here. There's a picture of me kneeling and we're at the same height. Now she's like eye to eye with me, that kind of stuff. So like, and a lot of these guys, they were like, shorter than me. And now some of them are looking down at me, which isn't saying much because I'm kind of short, but still, they're still looking down at me.
The Region 9 Masters height.
I do, yes. I say, yeah, like Master Valentin says, right? I'm vertically challenged, But I truly, again, I also look at these teenage black belts because they've been around for a long time. I look at them as family. What would you do for your family? You do what's best for your family. You try to give them the best that you can for your family, and that's when you go from a place of you kind of teach from your heart, it just kind of all works. You know what I mean? If you teach with another kind of mindset, motivated by some other aspect, it could work, but it doesn't work as well as when you teach from your heart. Like, say, that's my family. I'm going to help my family. I'm going to make them the best. It's my job to do that.
Absolutely. I think that's the key you put there is family off of the. I think that quote or that saying that Molinaro coined several years ago. Still, still works out pretty well there. The Family Nine.
Hashtag Family Nine.
Yeah,
Yep.
he still gets credit for that one. I think he's forgotten that he did that one, but he still managed to do that one.
Yeah.
We're getting a good number of people, guys. Again, any questions you guys have, feel free to throw those in there so we can ask Master Arteca a couple more things while we're still going here. Actually, just had Master Benelli, who's doing his He just gave me a comment, just saying, "Great job, Master Arteca." He's enjoying hearing you talk. So I think a lot of people are there. We got Anthony just came in. A few more people are all sitting in there. We see Chris Perry, Master White, Lee Maddox. A few more people have all joined and hopping in. So again, guys, any questions you got for Master Arteca, feel free. I'll try to throw him a couple questions while I wait for you guys to type some stuff out. So let's go with what's your favorite form, Master Arteca?
My favorite form. That's a tough one. Because I enjoy them. I enjoy them all. I think it's probably a toss-up between Basai and Kong Sen Kun. I think the tie between those. Believe it or not, I enjoy the moves from Basai because it takes a whole lot of. It basically it shows if you've worked on your basics. If you really took the lower form seriously, then this form should come out pretty awesome once you get the formation down. You start to get it in your muscle memory. So that's one reason why I like that. But Kong Sen Kun, that thing always kicks me, right? It's all those moves. It always, like, no matter how many times I do it, how many times I train it, it always gets me like, And I really enjoy the challenge of that form, and I think that's why I like it so much.
You mean like the 25 times like Grandmaster Shin used to have us do at the Masters Clinic?
And that's when I remember hearing your kiosk. You know what I mean? I remember hearing that, like, boom. It was in the background. You were like, I don't know, you were directly to the side of me or behind me. I can't remember, but I remember hearing it right at the end on that last jump front kick at the end when we would all key up there. I would hear that and be like, "Pull! I got another one. Let's go! I got it. I got the key up from him. He gave me some energy."
So Anthony is asking. He goes, "Are there any special pressures that come from being a master's son?"
Master's son? That's interesting. I never felt any. I really never felt any. I mean, you do at times. You do kind of, he kind of sets the sets a bar, and then you kind of have to kind of follow that bar. He said there's certain things that he does, and if he did well, that I'm expected to do well, and so on. So, but I never ended up feeling any pressures, like even in his school in Pennsylvania, or in Arteca's martial arts there, like I just never wanted to be looked at as like, oh, well, he's letting you do this because you're his son. It's like I wanted to be the hardest working person there, and if I was able to do something, it's because I earned it, just like all of you guys can earn it. So yeah, I never really felt any pressures. I never really. I tried not to disappoint him, and I tried to do whatever bar he said. I tried to meet that bar.
That's good. No, absolutely, that's very understandable.
So real quick, if Master Benelli's still watching, thank you, sir, for organizing those classes. You're doing a phenomenal job with that. So thank you, Master Benelli, for that.
Good. So let's see what else can we ask Master Arteca. We've just had a number of times we've trained with each other. We've seen each other for a long time. Okay, here. So Susie Rodriguez is asking. Is that one of your students?
Yes, sir.
He's asking, how can you remember all of the forms in order to teach them?
Well, you know what? So I've been doing them forever. That's why. I've been doing them forever. So I mean, I don't know, I'm going on 35 years of training. I started when I was like around 5, because that's when my dad started training. But then I officially started training, a couple years later. I was going for rank, but because I've been doing it forever, that's why, honestly. And I maintain them. I still train them. I still train all of the forms. I might spread them out, but I still train them. So, yeah. I mean, since I've been doing them forever, it's like when you learn something when you're younger, it's a lot easier to remember it when you're older versus learning something when you're older. It's kind of hard to maintain it when you're a little older. I'm not old, you know what I mean? But still, even now, it's things I learn, I'm like, okay, I got it. But before, when I was younger, it'd be like, I got it. It's in my head. It's burned in there. So that's how just been doing them forever, and I maintain them. So yeah, thanks for that, Miss Susie Rodriguez. That's right. They've been doing all of our classes here, all of our online stuff. I'm very proud of those two. They've been doing awesome.
Well, and also, I don't know if you feel this is true. I've always noticed though, the more you teach it, the easier it is to remember it. When
Absolutely.
if you're not, if it's the stuff you're not doing, because a lot of times you have to teach the form. If you have to remember it to teach it.
Absolutely. And you get a way better understanding of it when you teach it as well, because you have to really break it down into a bite-sized chunk for people to understand. And that's why I've always said my students teach me just as much as I ever teach them, because like I try to show it to them, and if their eyes go all like, what was that? Then I obviously didn't teach it right. So they teach me just as much as I teach them. But yeah, absolutely. When you teach it and train it both. That's a really good combination.
So Anthony's asking, and I can see the little smile. I can picture the smile on Anthony's face as he's asking this question.
Yeah.
He's asking, did you have an arch rival in your tournament history, in your tournament scene when you were competing?
Arch rival?
Well, there's something you always had to, would always beat you, or they would always give you a hard time. You trade wins back and forth, and like that. That was you would never use it. It was your Newman.
That's interesting. That's I can't ever say that I put any. Oh, okay. There is a couple, I guess. There is a few. Like, let's just pick. I'll pick sparring, for example. And if he's watching this, he knows it's Master Jorgensen, and he's in Region 22. He was a lot taller than me. He's so good at sparring, and he was so like this little assassin. Like, he would just kind of know how to get me to react so that I could open up and he could get me, right. And I think I only beat him like one time. I got close a bunch of times, but I think I only beat him like one time. But he made me a lot better fighter because of that kind of thing, because he had these really long legs, and he always kind of exposed weaknesses in me. So I knew he would do that and try to train for it. And he made me a better fighter. And when it came down to like forms and weapons and even sparring later, whenever he was at the Masters Clinic or something like that, chasing people like Dante Davis, Muhammad, Master Massaroni, those kind of guys, chasing those guys. I wouldn't call them like arch nemesis or rivals or something like that, but they'd be people that I would definitely be like, I got to train hard because I know they're training hard. I got to do this because I know they're doing this. So yeah, I think if I could say there was a rivalry, the only one I could say the rivalry would be with like Master Jorgensen. I never had a rivalry with like Dante Davis or Mo or Massaroni or anything like that. I never had a rivalry. I was always trying to beat them. I was always trying to beat them at stuff. I was trying to beat them in forms and stuff like that. And they like I said, I can't compare them, but they did inspire me, to motivated me to train and stuff like that. So maybe I was too nice. Maybe I should have gotten into it with somebody or something like that. But that's I'm not sure if that was the answer you were looking for, Mr. Anthony, but Mr. Bracco. But that's truly where I was with competing.
So what did you say then? Since you did like to compete, and you kind of almost said a little bit with your sparring there. Would you say you learned more from losing than you did from anything else?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because like winning tells you what you're already doing right, and you already know that. You know what I mean? But when you lose, it slaps you across the face and says, "Here's what you're doing wrong. Fix it if you want to get better." You know what I mean? Or here's not what you're doing wrong. Here's what you could do better. And if you want to win, you want to get better, you got to work on it. So absolutely, definitely, like certain things I would walk away, and people would my dad or my stepmother would video the sparring matches, and I'd watch them. I'd watch my forms. I'd watch other people's forms and stuff like that, and not look for like, oh, that was awesome, and say, oh, that looked really good. I'm looking at it like, where did I stink? And that's where I was looking at it and trying to fix it from there.
Nice, absolutely. No, that's great. Okay, guys, anything you guys want to ask, feel free to post this through. So Um, we had, so I know you and I, let's say, Carlos, of course, Carlos is asking this. Carlos is asking, what's your favorite sparring technique?
Sparring technique, a straight front leg side kick. Now I'm telling everybody. Now everybody's gonna know. If I spar you, you're gonna know, right? But yeah, straight mid-level front leg side kick that goes right under the guard or right in between the guard. That's my favorite.
Nice, very good. That's always good. Now I know what to watch out for.
Yeah.
Although you've never wanted to spar me. Every time I say let's spar, you say no, no, no.
Because I've seen you break multiple bricks at one time. That's why.
Okay, so someone's asking, what's your challenges with online training?
Challenges with online training? Really, my biggest challenge is I just miss everybody. I miss having everybody in person. I feed off of the energy of seeing people in person. I could feed off of the Zoom classes, of course, you know what I mean? And I feel that energy and I feed off of the comments and stuff, but just missing people is my biggest challenge. You could also say that, I'm training now 5 hours a day, but that's not a challenge. I love that. I love that, but yeah, my biggest challenge is that just missing everybody and wanting to have that feeding off of that physical energy in the room. There's nothing like Cheops bouncing off the walls and the ceilings and stuff like that. There's nothing like that. There's nothing, you can't replace that. And so that's just the biggest challenge for me, is just missing that and missing having everybody in person.
Yeah, absolutely, I completely agree with you on that. Was talking to every person I've talked to that's teaching these classes. That's the same. That's almost the same common as the energy. You don't get that same response, that energy that you work off of from the people.
Yeah.
From the students in class, you don't get that build. But
right.
So and you were very involved in getting it going and helping plan it and figure out rules and stuff like that for the national championships that we just had this past summer. And it was the first time we've done something like that. So, what were your thoughts on how that went, and what happened with it, and coming off of the first time through, to next year we got it. Hopefully we're gonna have it out in Chicago, I believe is the plan, with Master Anderson and the guy and Master Mary Tracy, and all those guys out there. But what were your thoughts coming out of that first one?
Other than getting ripped on by Master Valentin, having my rings be late. I'm just messing with you, sir. Don't hurt me.
It was great. That was hysterical. It was like every time we're sitting there, we're like, Master Arteca still going. It's like, well, in fairness, this is his fourth ring. Everybody else has done 2. So.
No, I enjoyed it. It was like anything new comes with some skepticism and some hesitance. Like, it's just the way it is, like anything like that, and I get, if anybody out there felt that, I completely get that. When we got there, I truly enjoyed it. Not only because, it was in our backyard. That was nice, of course, but we really wanted to spearhead this for Grandmaster's legacy, Grandmaster Bowen's legacy. But I just enjoyed seeing everybody that I wouldn't normally see at another time of year that I wouldn't normally see them, like from other regions, like, from my friends from Region 8 that I don't get to see very often, that I still keep in touch with, that I miss seeing. People from other regions, from other countries, stuff like that. I really enjoyed that, like that extra time where we kind of gathered in a bigger event than just like our regionals, and then people coming in, a handful of people coming in from other regions, that kind of a thing. So I really enjoyed that. I definitely enjoyed the team events as well. The team sparring was a lot of energy. The team forms was a lot of energy. And just the regular competition was awesome as well. But I think the big thing was just, I guess you could tell, I'm a people person. I love people, love having everybody getting together, and I enjoyed seeing the people that I wouldn't normally see again in a summertime setting. So I thought it went, for the first time through, although it was like unbelievably hot, which we can't control. We had nothing to do with that. But
I think it was the hottest week in like 2 years or 5 years or something. It was the hottest day in the last 10 years or something like that. It was 110 degrees or something.
Yeah. But other than that, like, it was, that I enjoyed it. I thought it went well. I enjoyed seeing everybody. Hopefully people enjoyed that too. And yeah, looking forward to the one in Chicago. Hopefully everything we're going through right now kind of dies down so people feel safe gathering and traveling and all of that. So yeah, I thought it went well. I was I didn't do as much of the work as you and Master Valentin and some of the folks that were actually in Connecticut and in near more closer to Stamford. But so hats off to you guys for for doing a lot. You guys did a lot more than I did. I helped where I could, but you guys really did a lot of it.
Well, I don't you might not have physically been here, but I know you and I had plenty of conversations about every aspect of what was going on. I know you Master Valentine, myself had a number of conversations, and it was, sometimes you're a great sounding board. Sometimes not being right next to the center of the region, being a little further out, still having a very large studio. I think by numbers, I think right now maybe the second largest in the region, after Master Valentine Studios. But you being where you are, you're a really great sounding board for ideas a lot of times, which I think is a very valuable thing. Now, from the national championships, I know you had a number of students that were there. You had a couple that were in competition for it. Did the championship belts, did those get any of your students really excited to want to take one of those home?
Oh yeah, they were excited about that too. Yeah, that just having that be a little different, something new and different that's cool like that. Yeah, yeah, they were gunning for it, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Being something different than that looked really cool, and I think the belts turned out great. I think they turned out really good. Yeah. Really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Rodney Ralph puts out here. He says he's stealing from Master Valentin, who stole from Master Priest. What is your silver lining for teaching online and this whole situation that we're going through? Do you have a silver lining for everything that's going on? Something that's what's a positive that's been happening lately, or something that's lifting your spirits through all this?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really trying to just look at the positives. Really, I mean, big thing. Personally, there's several things personally and with our training and stuff like that. Personally, is my family is home. You know what I mean? My wife is a school nurse. My daughter's in 5th grade. So my family, I get to see my family more. I definitely get to see my family more. Before, when I would come to teach, I would come teach. I'd be home and they'd be all snoring up a storm by the time I get home. So if I didn't see them in the middle of the day when I got home from stuff, I didn't see them that entire day. So except for in the morning time. So that silver lining is more family time for sure. But also, the learning that I've gotten from all of the idea sharing. You and I have had a number of conversations. I've talked with Master Valentin a couple times. I talked with others a bunch of times. I talked with Master Priest a few times. I've looked at the different Facebook pages. There's just a lot of learning that's going on. From the tech side. Definitely a lot more familiar with Zoom and how to work Facebook and how to do certain things, how to work YouTube, how to stream to YouTube, how to do all that kind of stuff. So, learning the tech piece was a big silver lining for me. And just also, just seeing the support from our students that continue to train and continue to stay dedicated, and then in the schools, supporting each other in the region and in the association and everything like that. Like, it just shows that, like, we're all here at the end of the day. If somebody's hungry, we're going to help feed you, that kind of a thing. If somebody's struggling, we're going to help lift you up, that kind of a thing. So I guess the biggest silver lining I have, aside from the extra family time and the support of the students and the learning, is that I just feel really in the bottom of my heart that we're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. At the end of the day, you need something. Somebody's going to be there to help lift you up. Even in your darkest times, even if you're in that lull, you need cheering up. Somebody's going to be there to boost you up. If you get to start to run low on something and you need help, somebody's going to be there. Somehow, some way, it's going to happen. And I've seen that happen numerous times throughout this entire thing. And that, to me, it's convinced me that anytime you're going through a rough situation, that you should know that there's always going to be it's going to work out one way or another. May not be sure how it's going to work out, but it's absolutely going to work out. It always does and always will. And I guess the last thing is when we get back to normal and we all get back to the regular hustle and bustle, nothing that we stressed about before will seem like anything compared to what we're going through right now. So like it gives us this big healthy dose of perspective of, some of the stuff you might have been complaining about before, whatever, right? Compared to what we're going through now, we're getting stronger because of it. And when we get back to normal and we have those regular stresses, so to speak, they're going to seem much less, and we're going to be much more equipped to deal with anything else that hits us forward.
So Carlos is asking an interesting one here. He's asking, if you had the technology we have now, would you have trained differently?
That's a very interesting question. Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Well, I think my first answer is I enjoy being in person, first of all. That's nothing will ever replace that for me. I enjoy training in person with people and being able to, I see your cat there. I enjoy.
He wanted to be in the video.
He waved. Yeah, that's right. I enjoy being in person. So I think the in-person training part, that wouldn't have changed. That wouldn't have changed for sure. But as far as the technology though, getting things to people that are maybe, that maybe go off to college, for example, or when I went off to college or something like that, doing stuff and I couldn't actually afford, I had so much to do. I couldn't actually get in the car, get there and get back and still get everything I needed to get done. Well, I could do something online. So maybe training, having that remote option there as a fallback to continue with training and keeping in touch, that would have definitely been helpful. And then the pre-recorded videos and the teaching things of, the teaching versions of forms, like the recorded versions of the forms. But this one-on-one stuff through Zoom is really, really, really awesome too, because I think, if you have a question, instead of emailing back and forth, now you could say, hey, can we hop on Zoom for a second? I show you this, you know what I mean? So it might actually have helped, us training back before that, we might have helped with our quality a little bit because we could actually help record, ask questions real time and maybe record things and send it back and forth a little bit more. But to circle back to your question, Mr. Carlos, I don't think that my training, personally, anyway, this is just me saying, I don't think my training would have been all that different because I enjoy being physically at the dojang with others and sweating, training, working hard with others, in place. So I think the technology would have just exposed more of a backup or another avenue if we needed it.
I absolutely think you're right there, Master Arteca. I think I think the technology is great. I think there's going to be a lot of, you and I have talked about it, and some other people have talked about it as a great option or supplement to the regular to the when we can be back in studio. I'm sure there is for a while going to be some people who just don't want to actually come back to the studio. So we may not immediately be back to the way things were, but I think as a supplement to people's training, the technology that we've rapidly learned, come on board with and learned how to get up to speed with is going to help in a lot of ways. And especially I think that you pointed out really well that age bracket of the people going to college. I know, I think when you went to college, there was, you weren't too far from your studio, so you could still train without too much, not every day like I'm sure you were doing, but you could still get back and get to events and that kind of thing relatively easily, right?
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't far. I was in the same town. Yeah.
I was, I was similar. I was still, UConn's main campus is about an hour, 15 minutes from here. So, even while I was there, I could come back on a weekend. It was easy to come back for a Friday night class or a Saturday class and then go back. And it's not like it was, a 10-hour drive one way, or, I had to get on a plane. If you wanted to pop in for, a class and this and that, you could still do it. And you had that, separation. But I know we have a number of students that are going off to college who are going long distances away, and there's no Tone studios there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking, I'm sure you're going to have some students that are going to go off to colleges where we might not have those studios. And it's going to be a good way to, not necessarily keep them super active, but keep them involved. I think that's the key of how do we keep, keeping them involved and interested in going through that college phase is I think hopefully something that we can really develop out of this new technology that we've really pushed forward with.
I agree. And there's been a few that, are getting up there, like, they're getting into high school and 11th grade and stuff like that. And I keep on saying to them, there are benefits to, going to school locally, right? Because we have tons of universities around here. I keep saying that to them, but of course, I don't want them to limit their abilities.
WPI is right there. Come on.
Yeah. We got so many universities. I mean, when you drive through Worcester, there's this one sign that has all these. It's like 8 universities sitting right on there. So yeah, there's a bunch. And I keep saying there's a benefits to staying nearby. And I joke with them because again, like,
you don't go into Boston. If they go into like Boston, that's not too far from Master Costa either.
True. Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, yeah, I ask them. I joke with them. Stay local, you're not allowed to go far, stuff like that. 'Cause, you don't want them to move away because you love these guys. But at the end of the day, we do have another avenue. If they do say they go to college in California or something like that, we could still, there's World Tongue Judo schools in California, but there's also now a way for us to engage, at their convenience too, based on their whole school load and workload and life and everything. We could still stay engaged and keep them going.
Absolutely. So, guys, maybe we'll see if you guys have 1 or 2 more questions for Master Arteca, and then we'll end this. These go quick. You get through a lot of them, but once you get going on some of these questions, you get going pretty well.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for everybody that's asked questions so far.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure, and I know I just saw. Master Tim Watson just I think was watching for a moment there, and he's him and Jeff Setianto have been doing a lot of these, and we're trying to. I think it's going to be a great thing if we can keep doing more of these. Get everybody to know the masters. It's a little bit more so than even the old on the old association's website on the old Master of the Month. I think you can get a lot more. A little bit more interesting with these, especially as we get used to them. I think everyone's still a little afraid to ask questions sometimes. As long as you're not asking anything crazy, we're all good. Everyone's pretty open and honest.
Definitely.
Everything. So, anybody else? Another question or two for Master Arteca? Feel free to type them in there. There's a little delay, so we're gonna see if we can come up with something. So, when was the last time you competed?
When was that?
Your last World Tongue Judo competition, would that have been like 2004?
Yeah, 4, I think it was, because my first year of Masters Camp, I think was. When was your first year of Masters Camp? 2006?
2006.
Yeah, so 2004 was the last time I competed, I think. Yeah, in World Tongue Judo. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely miss it for the reasons I said earlier, for sure. But I think one thing for people to know is that we're not we're human beings. Like we're everybody else. We're just like everybody else. Like I when I started when I was 5 years old, I never thought, right away, oh, I'm going to be master someday. That wasn't my goal. The only reason I did it was started training because my dad was training. That was it. At the end of the day, we all start at the same rank. We all start in the same spot in line, and we just work our way up. You know what I mean? So definitely, like anybody that is watching this and is watching any of these future ones, ask literally when it says ask anything, because we're normal human beings just like you guys, and we have the same perspectives as you guys. So I mean, I'd like to ask you guys questions and hear about you just as much as you'd like to hear about any of us that are being asked.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's people are like, well, you have to be so great to be a master. It's like, well, the technique eventually comes, and you get better at it, but part of it is just you keep going, and you're just not stopping, and you're not quitting. That's the challenge of I'm sure there's been lots of people you started with, you trained over the years who disappeared. I remember just even my first year at the Masters Clinic, your second year, that group, there's not a lot of there's a few people left from that set, but there's not a lot of people still around from that group. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. The path definitely narrows, but if you look at the struggles as an opportunity to push forward and achieve something great that others may not. Stuff like that. You know, if you look at it that way, it makes it a lot easier to deal with any sort of struggles, because anybody that's watching you, when you go through your training, you're gonna find a time where you're just like not into it and you're just in a funk. You're gonna get that. Okay, everybody does. Everybody struggles. Everybody does. But it's the ones that look at it as an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm gonna get past this, and when I do, I'm gonna get stronger because of it. And I never thought about ever stopping training or anything like that. I never thought about that. Because I don't know why. I just never thought of it. I never said, oh, it's just permanently a part of me. I never thought of it that way. But I did have those lulls at times, like we all do. You know what I mean? So I guess my point is, anybody that experiences those lulls, try to not mistake them as you're losing interest, because sometimes you're just in a funk. You know what I mean? Your most favorite thing in the world, you might lose. You might just not be all that excited about it at times. You know what I mean? So pushing through and knowing that the benefits on the other side are just enormous. And this is an opportunity to push through and get stronger and get a step closer to those opportunities and benefits. Hopefully that drives you.
So we got one from Rodney here. I'll let you go, and then I'll say something on this one too. But Rodney's asking, as a younger master, what do you think about general Tongsudo, not World Tongsudo, because obviously we don't have this, but Tongsudo competitions that have masters competing? What do you think about that?
What do I think about that? Well, yeah, there's a lot of schools of thought on this one. I'm sure I could see your wheels turning on this one. I think that if we keep the perspective of, masters competing, they're competing just like everybody else is. Okay. And yes, this master is these people's instructors, you know what I mean? But if I'm like, say I go out there and I spar against you and you completely deck me, okay, it's an opportunity for me to show my humility, right? And just say, yes, he was better than me. Okay, he was better than me that day. And my students can learn that. My students aren't going to look at me and say, oh, well, you're weak. You just got your butt kicked. That's not how that works. Okay, it's an opportunity for me to show my humility. It's also an opportunity to show, if I end up winning, to show my humility as well. So it's a character thing. I feel like I've heard both schools of thought, but I personally love competition. That's just where I'm coming from. And I'm just going to be honest about that. I personally love competition. Whether or not we spar is another story. I feel like, maybe that's something we do behind closed doors and spar. And if Master Dan puts me through the wall, the only evidence of that is the me-shaped hole in the wall like that. You know what I mean? But nobody got to see it. But maybe we do that off the side. But I definitely think, as far as forms go and breaking and like weapons, I feel like that would be a good motivator for our students to see forms out there, see people out there, masters and stuff like that, still doing their forms at a competition level, and not saying, well, I can't compete anymore, so I'm not going to train at that level anymore. It at least puts it up there and puts you out there. You know what I mean? And again, it gives us that something to strive for, and puts us into that competitor's mindset. So I think I'm a fan of the form side. I think the sparring side, maybe not so much. I don't know if I don't know what that would tell us. I don't really know what that would tell us. I think the forms would tell us a lot more, I think, than the sparring aspect of it. Forms and breaking, both, I think, would tell us a lot tell us personally and our students a lot about us, that the path doesn't end. You don't get master and then stop training. You get master and you continue and you refine and you get better and you stay active for your students, for yourself, for the future of the association, and so on.
Absolutely. I think you have a really good point there. And I've had the opportunities to see a fair bit of non-World Tongsudo masters competition. And I don't necessarily see it as a problem for for hopefully for World Tongsudo Masters. I think because of the challenge that, it is World Tongsudo Master rank is not an easy thing to achieve, and pretty much always everyone has the correct mindset by the time they get to that rank in World Tongsudo. But a lot of other organizations do have lesser standards or different standards that they apply for master ranks or higher ranks, and the they may have, the technical ability that is required for mastery is there, but for lack of a better term, the emotional maturity, maybe, the thought process maturity, the humility isn't there. And I've seen every poor sportsmanship attitude that I'm sure you've seen from a GUP or even black belts in competition exhibit. I've seen masters do that in some masters competitions that I've seen at times, and it really diminishes the rank sometimes, and that's the double-edged sword that I think sometimes master competition walks is it can very quickly cross, individuals can very quickly cross that line of I don't want to say degrading, but lowering the quality and the meaning of rank by the attitude that they have in their competition, or how they affect their competition. Do they, you'll get the score and man, that guy doesn't like me, this and that, and then there's that poor sportsmanship side comes out sometimes, and that diminishes the rank, and that's I think we're great. I think what we have to if ever that's going to happen, that has to be the biggest thing that is protected is the integrity and the meaning of the rank behind before anything else. You know what I mean? I think that's the thing we have to protect.
Yeah,
that's the real challenge, unfortunately. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think one way or another, showing, putting the masters out there, because there are, like at Worlds and stuff like that. There's and at our regional events and some other regional events too from other regions. Masters getting out there and doing stuff. I think that's a good thing. Because there's always this joke that you get this, you get sixth dan or fifth dan, and then your belt gets really long because your your belly's going to get really big. It's going to stop training. That's not the way it works. You know what I mean? That's not the way it works. And we have a lot of, higher up masters in our association that like hold it up there. Like, you know what I mean? That are still training. They're still doing their thing. And I think highlighting that it's not like, it's not about, one of the quotes I heard recently, I forget where I heard it from first. I forget. But action, not position. Okay. Like if you let that sink in for a second, action, not position. So if you think to yourself, cool, I got my master belt, I get to stand in front of here. That's not the mindset that we're all supposed to have, right? That's not the mindset anybody is supposed to have, whatever rank you have. But it's really what you do, action, right? It's like what you actually do. Are you acting that way? It's like when you get a black belt, it says it's not about wearing it, it's about being it. It's even more so as you go up through those ranks. So it's about, so what are you still doing as a master? What are you still doing as a 5th degree, 6th degree, 7th degree? What are you still doing? And you don't have to be jumping around doing backflips or 540s and all that stuff like that, because at some point it just doesn't come as easy anymore. It's just physiology. It's how it is. You know what I mean? But if you're still doing what you can personally do the best you can, and you're still holding it down and you're staying active, that shows that master's level perseverance, and it shows that action, and you're not relying on that position. You know what I mean? I think I have that on my wall in my office. It's right above my laptop. It's right there. And at any point I think to myself that I'm not doing enough action, I see that sometimes. So it's a motivator for me, that I feel like if you look down and you see your rank, you see a responsibility. And we, every time your belt changes, you should see more responsibility, and you should embrace that responsibility.
Absolutely, and you were, and that's why Anthony and I were having a conversation the other day, talking about some history of Grandmaster Bodwin, and he asked me, and he's like, did what do you remember from the times of seeing him, train? I said, well, I only really got to see him train when I went to the Masters Clinic. That was really when I first got to see him. And then I was, in the back of, at the time, it was 100, I think it was like 125 people, back then. Now it's 250 people or however many.
Yeah.
But it was 125 people, and I'm in the back corner of the gym, and he's in the front. And I'm sure you felt the same way, because he's up there, and Grandmaster Strong is next to him, and at the and this was 2000, and this was 15 years ago. The two of them, they're still they're in their mid 60s. I'm, in my 20s. You're in your 20s, and it's like, hold it. I can't stop if those guys aren't there. They're the first two in line, and they're setting the example. of never stopping, never quitting, how can anybody else do it? You know, if the two of them always set that bar.
Yeah.
Back then at the Masters Clinic of never giving up, never quitting, never stepping off.
Yeah. That's the fun. I agree with you. I mean, that's one of the things about the Masters Clinic is that you go to our regional things, we're all up in the front, and you go to the Masters Clinic and you're just like in the way back. I love that because then you look up at that front row and it's like, look at them go still. You know what I mean? Look at them go. You know what I mean? They found a way around inevitable injuries, inevitable wear and tear in the body. It's gonna happen, right? It's just what it is. You know what I mean? We only get one, but they are finding ways around it and still doing the best that they possibly can. And look at them go. They're still doing it. They're still doing their thing. They all have their strengths and they all have their different strengths and stuff like that. But they're still up there. They're still standing up there. They still do the forms. They still do all the training. And I love that.
Absolutely. So I think we'll wrap it up here because on take number 16 that we're on, at this time we actually managed to kept it running for 70 minutes. We actually managed to keep it running for. So this time It actually worked.
Yeah. Now you know for the next one.
I was gonna say I have to figure out how to actually keep using this now after it worked because Zoom did not want to behave with us again. Everybody apologized for the first couple of starts and stops, but we managed to get this going eventually. But thank you everybody for tuning in. We had a lot of people that came in. I think we had nine. It looks like there was 9 different people that shared this, although like 5 of them are Master Valentin sharing it.
Nice.
He just hit it once and it went everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
But thank you. It was great talking to you, Master Arteca. We're gonna end this video, and again, thank you for your time, and thank you guys, everybody who tuned in and got to know Master Arteca a little bit more. Next, we're gonna have to figure out who's gonna be the next person that we do one of these with. Thank you guys.
Well, yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.
Everybody, good night. Tong Su.
Tong Su.